Where's my D20? Gobbo!
Hi, welcome to Gobbo's Guides, where I go over tips and tricks on how to help you enjoy your tabletop RPG games even more. This time we'll be talking about something I think is one of the most important things you can be doing, no matter what game system you're using, and that's making a character that you enjoy playing. I've been playing tabletop RPGs for almost 10 years now, from games like Pathfinder and D&D to World of Darkness and Vampire the Masquerade. And within those 10 years, I've had a lot of characters that I enjoyed, but a lot more that I didn't. But, as I got more experience with character creation and playing, I found a method that's helped me make more characters that I enjoyed, and I wanted to share it with everyone here so you could try it for yourselves. After I've explained the process and gone through it all at the end of the video, I'll actually show how I've created my most recent character using it. Now there is a big note here. This is mainly focused on characters who are expected to have moments of role-playing, so if you're in a campaign that's focused primarily on combat, this may not work for you. Also, part of enjoying your character stems from the group that you're in. If you don't like playing with your party or your DM, then odds are you won't enjoy the character as much as you otherwise would. The main part of this method is finding what I like to call your character's anchor. This anchor is something that you find interesting or engaging about your new character. It could be anything from things like a key backstory moment, an interesting class or race combo, or a character personality. Even something as simple as a voice that you like doing could be an anchor for your character. Whatever you choose to be your character's anchor, most of your story and features should stem from or relate to it. Now, that doesn't mean that your character and story all have to follow one track. Maybe your anchor is an event in a town and you try to stay away from it instead of embracing it. And don't worry about taking inspiration from other characters or concepts. As long as you make them your own, you'll enjoy them. But if you only copy and don't transform, you won't have as much fun. Now, if you're doing what I usually do and are struggling to not overthink things, here are two examples of anchors from popular characters in media that have already been built off of. So here's the first one. You're a criminal with a heart of gold. Rather than leading your enterprising crew with fear, you choose to encourage them to be their best, which led them to follow you out of respect and friendship. Just like your heart of gold, you have a naturally upbeat personality and a voice just brimming with positivity and excitement. Rather than using weapons or magic, you focus on improving yourself, body and mind, taking the monk class. Wait, who are you? How'd you get in here? Get out of my cave, shoot! Ugh, what a freak. Alright, the second one. Maybe you're wanting to play a druid class with a strong emphasis on wild shape both in combat and in roleplay. How about a young halfling whose Moon Circle initiation quest is to study the animals of the world to understand their place in nature? Starting off at a low level, you only have weaker creatures to transform into. You hate it. It's stupid, it's dumb, why can't your druidic mentors just teach you how to turn into something super strong like a giant ape or a dinosaur? What are you going to do as a house cat or a field mouse? And without your wild shape, you're not strong or agile or tough, you're weak. But, as you use these small animal wild shapes, you start to understand that size and strength aren't everything. And so you grow, learning new and stronger forms while still keeping those weaker forms in use. You also learn that while not in wild shape, you still have a place on the battlefield. What? Another one? Hob, the guard's asleep and weird-looking people are wandering in again. Freaking guard not doing his job, interrupting my time, making me do work. Man. Yeah, and scram. Once you have an anchor, it helps a lot to create a character voice. Having a voice for that makes it easier to get into character and start thinking like they do. It could be as simple as speaking softer, more airier. Is that a word? Maybe bringing your voice down low or raising it higher in pitch, or just speaking in a different manner than you normally would. I'll make a short video on this another time, but the main thing is it can be as simple or complex as you want it to be. It doesn't have to be good either. As you play your character, you'll naturally get better at doing their voice, and it may even change or refine as you develop them. Just try and avoid doing voices that are painful. If the voice that you want actually hurts your throat to do, you may want to try and find a new one, or at least find a way to tone it down to a less throat-grating level. Trust me, a weekly sore throat is not worth it. One last thing I'd recommend is to make sure you're not playing a purely passive character. It's fine if your character isn't always the center of attention, but you want to make sure that there's something you can do to take the spotlight every now and again. Give your character something they're passionate about, or give them a good goal to strive for. They should have something to motivate them, no matter how small it may be. It could be a passion for smithing, where they nerd out whenever in a smithy or when examining armor or weapons. Or maybe they're a quiet bookworm, but whenever their favorite topic comes up in conversation or circumstance, they can't help but talk everyone's ear off about it, listing off facts and trivia. The last piece of advice I have is to leave small spaces in your character that can be developed as you play. Maybe a near-death experience gave your character a new fear. Or maybe they begin to stress out so much that they want to stop adventuring, and have to see that the world really does need them, no matter how tough it gets. Or maybe you feel that your character's life is too perfect, and you need a little bit of that traumatic memory spice that everyone keeps talking about. Maybe after a long campaign on land, you're about to go out on the open sea, and your heavy armor-clad knight is just getting a little too dry for you. Well hey, suddenly they just remembered watching a childhood friend drown in the river while they could do nothing about it. They never learned how to swim, and now you can add that fear of the water to them. Their armor protects them from the world, but the ocean doesn't care about that. It'll just drag them down. Maybe they decide to pick up spells that can let them breathe and walk on water. That's cool, but that doesn't get rid of the fear, because fear is irrational. No matter how prepared they may be, it's always going to be there. It's a pretty fun example, but there's a big thing I want to note. Adding a fear like that only works if it can be added in with little issue. So if your campaign is taking place on dry land up until that point, then it makes sense that you can add it in right there because there's no conflict in events or setting up until that point. So it doesn't make sense to have a sailor of 10 years experience suddenly develop thalassophobia unless there was a specific event that sparked it. Just make it believable. And those are the basics of how I make my characters fun to play. Results may vary, like I said in the beginning, but this is just how I like to do it. Now that I've got the explanation out of the way, let's put it into practice. While writing this, I've actually created a character using these methods that I'll be playing in an upcoming campaign. So, the anchor is the concept of a Jekyll-Hyde type gnoll whose hunger has them balancing on the edge of sanity and maniacal frenzy. Usually calm, he believes that his frenzied side is a curse, and seeks to be rid of it no matter what he has to do or who he has to go through. If someone doesn't agree and tries to stop him, they might get an introduction to his other half. Yeah, he may be a little edgy, but everyone gets to play an edgy character once in a while, right? So, is it a curse? Maybe it is, and somewhere out there is a way to be rid of it. Or maybe it's just his other half, that he refuses to accept and will inevitably go on a character journey to do so. Or die trying. You know, whichever happens first. So, what's the silly little gnoll's name? Jekyll-Hyde. See what I did there? I had fun making that. So, due to gnolls not being an official playable race in D&D 5th edition, we've created sort of a hybrid gnoll by using features and traits from other playable races that fit the theme of a gnoll. So, things like Hungry Jaws to get the gnoll's hunger and bloodthirst, as well as pack tactics for the gnoll instincts. If you're wanting to play as a gnoll and your DM doesn't want you to use pack tactics, you can swap this out for the full-blooded orc ability Adrenaline Rush. This is mainly to create something similar to the gnoll monster stat block ability Rampage, but you can also use that as is. Lastly, you get the 60-foot dark vision that gnolls normally have, as well as Common and Abyssal as your known languages, and one extra of your choice. Jekyll-Hyde will be a barbarian, leveling up until he gets the Zealot subclass. Now, you may be thinking that Beast Barbarian would be a better fitting option, but my logic is he gets his Fury from Yinugu, which would fall within the Zealot subclass. Also because I think it's just more interesting to take a more obscure route to get what you're looking for, but that's just me. Speaking of, after he gets the Zealot subclass, he'll be taking 3 levels in Fighter and picking Battlemaster. Second Wind and Action Surge make for good bloodthirsty adrenaline rushes, and the unarmed fighting style lets Jekyll-Hyde deal 1d8 with his claws, and Bite if your DM considers that an unarmed attack. For Battlemaster maneuvers, I chose Ambush, Grappling Strike, so Jekyll-Hyde can grab and then bite his foes, and Menacing Attack. As for Student of War, I chose Leatherworking Tools, because that's really the closest thing to what Jekyll-Hyde might use. It's a feature that I'm actually going to talk to my DM to drop, because it really doesn't fit well. The rest of Jekyll-Hyde's levels will be in Barbarian, unless something in the story gets him to change those plans. Like I said, leaving gaps in character. Haha! Okay, now the last thing is his voice. So, Jekyll-Hyde is going to have 2 different voices depending on whether he's in the Jekyll mindset or the Hyde mindset. When he's in the Hyde mindset, he'll be speaking quickly with an unstable voice that raises and lowers as he speaks. The Jekyll voice, as of writing, is actually still being worked on. I'll go over how I found my characters' voices in another video. Now, as for Spaces in his story, I'm leaving 2 different paths open that it could take, depending on how the campaign goes, one of acceptance and one of rejection. Either Jekyllhyde learns that his frenzy is a part of him and gains control of it, or he finds a way to be rid of it through magic items, spells, potions, or deals with deities or devils. And that's the character. As you can sort of see, you start off with your concept like a rough sketch, then you just fill in more and more details, and your character just comes to life.
I'm alive! I'm alive!
But another one came to life. Can you... Thank you.
You want me to...
Yeah, just stick him with the rest of the characters.
Alright, come on, big guy.
And that's a wrap for today's video. I hope you got something out of it, or at least enjoyed listening. If you got any tips of your own, leave them in the comments section below. And while you're down there, maybe you could leave a like while you're at it? And subscribe too so you can see new videos. Anyway, big thanks from us at Goblins and Gremlins.